Well, howdy partners, it's your old buddy the Reddit Rider, and welcome back to the Reddit Ranch. Why don't y'all come in and sit a spell, 'cause I got some mighty fine tales to tell. Like our first story today, it involves a new mama who has a mother-in-law that thinks she's entitled to give away stuff that doesn't belong to her. Well now, that just ain't right.
AITA for moving me and my newborn into the RV after my MIL and husband tried giving it away? I'm feeling incredibly grossed out, so maybe this is hormones talking. I just gave birth a couple weeks ago. Back in March, my husband and I bought an RV for $2,500 that needed new floors, some patchwork on the roof around the skylight windows, and some updated appliances. All summer we worked on the RV and sunk in over $4,000. The only thing left to complete is updated appliances, but it's not a necessity. Obviously, since we just had our baby though, that's being put on hold. But we still intended on having it completed by next summer so we could go camping and traveling around for a few months. That's why we got the RV to begin with. Now, my husband's sister Jamie, who's 38, is having marital problems apparently, and for whatever reason my MIL thought it would be okay to tell Jamie she could have our RV, since we aren't using it anyways. We are in no contact with Jamie following her running her mouth about us to the rest of the family because I refuse to watch her dog for free anymore because I was heavily pregnant and her dog is a big, untrained nuisance. We haven't spoken to Jamie in at least 3 months. We went 100% no contact when we found out that she was heavily trashing our names. So why MIL would give our stuff to Jamie baffles me on many levels. Therefore, when MIL came here and said I told Jamie she could have your RV because she needs to get out of her house. We already have renovation plans for the camper. I was mad. I asked her why she would give away crap that isn't hers and why she would think this was acceptable. She pulled the family helps family and pay it forward talk. And much to my surprise, my husband said whatever, she already fudging told my sister she could have it and maybe it's good karma. He was mad, but still agreed to just give it away. I basically told them both to go fudge themselves because I worked hard on this RV all summer while uncomfortable and pregnant, and I will be damned if it's given away to a no-contact family member right from under my nose without even asking. My husband told his mom he would bring the RV to his sisters within the week. Without doing much thinking at all, honestly, I packed up myself and the baby and moved us into the RV. I'm not okay with giving away the RV and they both know it. So I took the extreme route. My husband says I'm being overdramatic and that we can just get another RV eventually, we can't afford to buy a new one come camping season. AITA?
Oh, thank the Lord Almighty, ma'am. When I first read your title, I thought they wanted to give the newborn away. Anyway, y'all ain't the sidewinder in this here story. Have y'all ever noticed that whenever someone says, family helps family, they're always talking about someone else helping, never themselves? If your MIL truly wants to help her daughter, then she should let her daughter move in with her. As for y'all's dear old hubby, he should have your back on this, but he clearly doesn't. Wow, entitled much? Anyway partners, what do you think of her solution? What would you have done if you were her? Let me know in the comments. Next we have one from a little lady who has an adult daughter that wants her mom to pay for a psychology degree her daughter probably won't ever use. Oh, I don't know ma'am, maybe she could use it to find out what the hell is wrong with her.
AITA for not wanting to pay my daughter's university fees when she plans on being a stay-at-home mom. I'm 58 and have one daughter, Clara, who's 28. Clara never went to university because she said it wasn't for her and that would be a waste of money. Clara is now engaged. She told me she wants to go to university now before they have kids, so she has a backup plan if something goes wrong, and she is left with nothing. She said her plan is to go to university for the 3 years, we live in the UK, studying psychology. Then she'll have kids and be a stay-at-home mom immediately after she graduates and use her degree if she ever needs to. I asked why psychology, and she said it just seems like the easier degree to make a career out of. The problem here is she wants me to pay for it. I'm about to retire and I really don't want to pay for her degree that she likely won't ever use. I'm also skeptical about how useful a degree will be in the future for her if she has no experience working a job in that industry and got the degree long before she has to use it. I told her I'm not rich enough to just pay for a degree that likely won't be used. She should have a conversation with her fiancé about what they'll do if they split up after she's been a stay-at-home mom. I even suggested she and her fiancé should pay for it together, but she said they'll need to save all their money towards having kids in the next few years. I said I need to save my money too for my retirement and I'm not wasting it on a degree she doesn't plan to use or has passion for. She said I'm being unfair to her and that I should be worried about her being left destitute if her fiancé leaves her one day. I said she should be putting all the money she makes now into an account for herself and creating savings or investments in case anything happens instead of making me spend thousands of pounds on a degree she probably won't ever use. She told me not to expect her to have me as part of her family anymore when I don't care about her future. AITA.
No ma'am, y'all ain't the Sidewinder. Your younging had her chance to have y'all pay for university a decade ago, when she first graduated from high school. Now, she's an adult. If she wants to advance her education, that's up to her and her fiancé. However, getting a psychology degree as a backup plan seems like a mite bit of an expensive idea. Well now partners, I bet her daughter probably thought this would play out differently in her head. But what would you have done? Would y'all have agreed to pay or not? Let me know in the comments please. Our next story is from a cowpoke who's upset with his daughter because she hid her pregnancy from him. Gee, I wonder why he got upset over that.
AITA for yelling at my daughter for hiding her pregnancy from me. My 20-year-old daughter lives with me. She has a boyfriend Gary, who's 20, and he currently lives with his own parents. She lost her job over COVID, and has felt too sad since then to look for a new one. I'm not sure if Gary has ever worked, but he doesn't now. Mostly he just sits around my house playing Xbox and eating my food. I'm not Gary's biggest fan, but my daughter loves him, so I tolerate him, and have always been polite to him. About a month ago, she went missing for a little over 3 days. While she does go out a fair bit without telling me, this was a lot longer than usual. I rang her mother and messaged Gary and any of her friends I could think of, and no one had seen her. Eventually Gary responded with a picture of a baby and say hello to your grandson. She had never even told my ex-wife, or I, that she was pregnant. For context, she's a bigger girl, and had put on a couple of extra kilos over the last couple of months. While it seems obvious now in retrospect, at the time it just seemed like normal weight gain. She and Gary brought the baby back to our house sometime the next day while I was at work. When I got home, I asked her why she wouldn't tell me something like this, and she said it's because she wanted Gary to move in with us, and she knew if she'd asked before the baby was born I would have said no. And that I'd say that she and Gary need to get themselves sorted, both get jobs, and find their own place to live before the baby comes. She's probably not wrong. But if she waited until he was born, then I'd have to say yes to Gary moving in, because what kind of monster would keep their grandson from living with their father? I was so mad at her reason for hiding it that I yelled at her, saying that it was an incredibly manipulative thing for her to do. I was too angry at the moment to give her an answer about Gary. I told her I needed time to process and think and asked her not to talk to me for a little while. She rang her mother in tears. My ex then rang me to ask how I could be so cold and tell me that I was ruining what should be an exciting and magical time for her, my daughter, Gary, and myself. She said I'd look back on this in years and feel terrible that I spent the first days of my firstborn grandchild's life making everyone upset by being angry at my daughter and her boyfriend and stalling their plans to live together with the baby. I feel like I'm justified in being angry about them intentionally trying to manipulate me, but everyone around me seems to think I don't have a valid reason for being bothered in the first place, and that I need to get over it, move on and let them live together. AITA.
No partner, y'all ain't a Sidewinder, and y'all have every reason to be upset. As for everyone around y'all disagreeing with you, well now, I reckon that's probably because it ain't happening to them. They were trying to manipulate you. And as far as I can tell from your post, it was probably unnecessary. I mean, it does sound like you might have let them stay with you if they just told you she was going to have a child. I mean, poor little Gary at least would have to find a job. And anyone that claims there are no jobs around where they live is full of BS. I mean, I bet y'all have some fast food joints around. They're always hiring. It may not pay as much as they'd like, but nowadays, any job that puts food into your child's stomach is a good job. What do y'all reckon, partners? Do you think he has every right to be a little cheesed off by this turn of events or not? Let me know down below. Our last story today is from a filly that has a ma and granny that thinks they are entitled to invite their whole address book to her wedding.
AITA for telling my family they can't invite anyone to my wedding? I'm 32 and I have been engaged to my fiancé, who's 27, for about a year now. We'll call him Jack for this story. Once we got engaged, I immediately started planning. And my family has been fighting me every step of the way. The venue is too far. These are the venues I should be looking at. I should have this and that and this other kind of food. This is the kind of dress I should wear, etc. It has been a nightmare. One morning I had gone to breakfast with my mother and grandmother, and somehow the topic of the wedding came up. My mother casually said something along the lines of a list of people she was going to invite. I put my foot down and said, "No, you're not inviting people I don't know to my wedding." Her response was, "Well, if I am helping to pay for it, then I will invite whoever I want." I have not asked her to help with paying for the wedding. Jack and I had decided we would be footing the bill ourselves. I told her, "We are paying for it, so no, you will not invite whoever you want, and most guests will not even be getting a +1. I want a small wedding. 50 to 60 people is the absolute max, and that is a lot. My guest list at the moment is right around that number and I'm not budging on it." My grandmother decided to chime in and said, "Oh, you're such a witch." And that's where the conversation ended. For the record, I had already added some of her close friends who I have met before on the list so she would have people to mingle with. AITA for putting my foot down?
No ma'am. There ain't no way y'all could be the sidewinder in this here story. As for y'all's ma and granny, well now, I plumb reckon they all couldn't be bigger sidewinders if we paid them. There is only two people that needs to have a voice when it comes to any part of the wedding. You and Jack. It's your wedding, not theirs. Well now, partners, doesn't her granny sound like the sweetest little thing? Anyway, what would y'all do if you were this blushing bride? Let me know in the comments below. Well, partners, I do plumb reckon that it's time for this good old boy to ride off into the sunset. But if y'all enjoyed y'all's time at the Reddit Ranch, then I'd thank y'all kindly to hit like and subscribe. It'll really make this old cowboy smile. Until the next time we meet, adios.